This is our last show before 2020. That is the last show with Larry Nichols. Larry, how are you today?
Hey, I'm here, buddy. I'm here.
Good to see you, Larry. I hope you had a...
That's a positive.
Exactly, it is a positive. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, Larry, and I'm sure you're getting ready for 2020. Lots of exciting stuff happening.
Yes. It was a great Christmas in that I got quite a few donations from this audience. Not quite a few, but anyway, a few. Mm-hmm. But I did get some wonderful messages and cards, and I want to thank all of you for that. That means a lot to hear from you. You know, a word of encouragement now and then, Jason, to somebody like me, helps, because most of the stuff I get is pretty cutting and hard.
I know what you mean, Larry. It's nice to receive a message from somebody who appreciates what you're doing. You've told us that, you've been in the military, you've been involved in things that you tell us about that caused you to change your life, and I think that it's very noble for somebody to do that and try to make things right. So I do my best to support you, Larry, in giving you a platform here on Crowdsource the Truth to do that. People can go over to nicholslive.com. I was encouraging people to send you Christmas cards, and that was my subtle way of implying that people could financially sponsor Larry by going to nicholslive.com. Click on the Donate tab, and it's going to bring up all the information that you need to reach Larry. If you'd like to send him money by credit card or through your PayPal account, you can go to paypal.com, use his PayPal address, nicholslive@aol.com, and Christmas cards, New Year's cards. You can stick some money inside one of those and mail it to Larry over there in Conway, Arkansas. And Larry, you're joining me every week on Tuesdays at 3 to share a lot of amazing insights. I think you and I we've been doing this for maybe more than a year. I'm really enjoying the rapport that we've developed, because I'm kind of asking you questions that seem to lead us down roads that are getting into some really important information. Everybody's been thinking about the impeachment, and what's happening from your point of view with that?
Well, first off, let me say thank you for letting me come on this program, Jason. It's a very important value to me to have an outlet to be able to get the information that I feel needs to be passed on and get it out. And then I would say to everybody listening today would be a wonderful day if you have access to PayPal to help me, because this is a day where between Christmas and New Year's there's been very little come in. So anything today would be much, much, much appreciated.
Yeah.
And Larry,
well, I was just going to say real quick, I think it's important for people to realize that anybody who spends all their time, as you do and I do, creating shows and researching all this material and information to provide a daily show, this is the job. There's not much else that we can do with our time to earn money. So if people are watching weekly and enjoying the show, I would ask them to show Larry a little bit of love and send him some money. We can't do this every week for free. I mean, we'd like to, but we just can't. Same is true of Crowdsource the Truth. If people want to go over to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, these shows can't continue through 2020 without your support. And an important part of what I've been trying to create with this network of co-hosts that join me on Crowdsource the Truth is a really convenient way for the viewers to be independent sponsors of the hosts that they like. And that eliminates the undue financial influence of large corporate sponsors. And we know what that can lead to, right, Larry?
You bet, you bet. I mean, this is one of the things that is costing us our freedom. And it is literally the way money, power, money, corporate interests have come in, and they have taken over communications. They've taken over information through the media. So without getting into much more about that, we need to get specifically into the impeachment, because there is something going on that nobody's going to tell you about, but you will hear it here.
Yeah.
Number one, Mitch McConnell, I think, as you put in the title, I guess, of the program today, is stabbing President Trump in the back. We feared this would happen, but we're starting to see the first signs of proof that this is happening. It's odd, Jason, that no one in the media, no one, actually no one even in Congress, either side, Republican or Democrat, is pointing out the obvious. You see, it's constitutional impeachment. Impeachment is defined in the Constitution. Where Pelosi took advantage of the impeachment process, when it comes to the process of impeachment within the House, there are no real constitutional guidelines that must be followed. So they were able to run what everybody knows was an incredibly rigged hearing or inquiry that led to the articles of impeachment. It was horrible. It was so rigged that everybody should have seen the malfeasance.
Yeah.
But it was legal. It was legal. But now we're entering into something that is constitutional. You see, the House gets to hold a hearing, and they get to determine whether or not they find cause, they believe just cause, for articles of impeachment. Mm-hmm. You got it?
Yep.
Now that they've done that, it is their duty under the Constitution to turn those articles over to the Senate. Now, at that point, ladies and gentlemen, remember, it's their duty constitutionally to turn those articles of impeachment over to the Senate for a trial. Now, that is the law, so to speak. That's the Constitution. That's the law. They must do that. If they're not going to do that, then they are violating the Constitution by abusing the impeachment process.
You could say they're obstructing Congress, Larry.
In a way, you're not allowed to use Congress to impeach a president, to go through all that they went through just for the hoopla of it under the guise of impeachment, if you never intended to actually turn those to create articles of impeachment and to turn them over to the Senate.
Right.
It's illegal. You can't do that. But they did. Now, Pelosi is holding them. And she is saying that she's holding these impeachment articles to be turned over to the Senate until she sees the rules that Mitch McConnell is going to use in the Senate trial. Now, Jason, once again, here we go, violating the Constitution.
Right. Separation
of powers. Pelosi has no right. She has nothing she can do, nothing, about what Mitch McConnell and Schumer do relative to the rules of their impeachment trial. Nothing.
You mean the House can't influence the Senate in this matter?
No. As a matter of fact, it's against separation of powers for her to even use that as a pretext, right?
To influence them at all.
For not turning the articles over.
Right. Because even within Congress, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, even within Congress, the House and the Senate are a check and balance against each other. Nancy Pelosi is acting like the Speaker of Congress, not the Speaker of House. She thinks she's already president.
Right. I mean, why is no one, Jason, pointing this subtle, albeit subtle little fact, but incredibly important fact out, because this very well sets the stage for the scam that's coming from McConnell and Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there was a plan for McConnell. If Pelosi continued, which she is, to withhold the articles of impeachment for some reason, assumingly that it was, she was not going to turn them over until she approved of the conditions of the terms of the trial. There was a plan that should have been implemented, which was for the Senate to basically go ahead, fulfill their constitutional obligation, and hold the Senate trial with the House impeachment articles in absentia.
What do you mean in absentia? They're going to have the trial without having the impeachment documents there? Just have the trial anyway?
Right. Have the trial, and since they did not bring forth the articles of impeachment, of course, they would set aside the impeachment.
Right.
They literally just set it aside, which they should do. She is in direct violation of the Constitution right now.
Yeah.
She's in violation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And every day she proclaims that she's waiting to release the articles to the Senate until she gets, knows what McConnell and them are going to do relative to the rules, whether they're going to call witnesses, etc. That is in violation of the Constitution. That is malfeasance.
Yeah.
So they should be holding the Senate trial in absentia without the articles and summarily dismiss the case.
Dismiss, exactly. That's what I wanted to get to, Larry, because we've got some questions coming in the comments here. Norse Wester is asking, why else would she hold them? I'm fully convinced that Nancy Pelosi is holding these articles of impeachment because she knows that when they go to the Senate in the way that you describe, they will finally be subject to due process, and Mitch McConnell or anybody else there in the Senate, probably Trump's lawyers, someone could challenge it with a motion to dismiss. And it's important for people to understand that a motion to dismiss doesn't challenge the factual allegations or what's alleged to be a factual allegation. It doesn't deal with whether this phone call was or wasn't bad. It just deals with, are they accusing him of a crime? Have they stated a cause of action for which relief can be granted? The Constitution is very specific that impeachment is for high crimes and misdemeanors, bribery. It's very specific in its language, and obstruction of Congress and abuse of power are not violations of any law. Obstruction of justice would be a violation of law. Perjury, in the case of Bill Clinton, was a violation of the law. These are things for which a president could be impeached, but the impeachment process that we're witnessing right now, Larry, is a very seat-of-the-pants kind of designed on the fly. Nancy Pelosi is, re-engineering the Constitution for her own convenience.
Right. Yes. Now, where McConnell, Schumer, and Pelosi are plotting against the president is starting to reveal itself. You see, when McConnell and Schumer start talking in terms of, okay, McConnell says they want to subpoena witnesses, I think I will let them subpoena witnesses, right? Sounds fair. Sounds reasonable. Agreed?
Well, doesn't sound strategically wise to me, because it's, again, you're lending credibility to a not credible process by doing that. If I were advising the president, and of course I'm not a lawyer, I would just immediately hit this thing with a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim.
Well, withstanding, they've passed that point if McConnell goes through with what has been announced. If Schumer and McConnell work out that they are going to open up the Senate trial to subpoenaing witnesses and taking witnesses' statements, then the die is cast for the trick that the Democrats want to play on Trump, supported by Mitch McConnell and the cast and crew of Republicans. Mm-hmm. You see, what happens, and they know it, if he agrees to letting the Democrats call for witnesses, subpoena, they're going to subpoena, of course, Pompeo, what's his name, Bolton, his chief of staff, Mitch Mulvaney, or whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. And in those three cases, of course, Jay Sekulow, President Trump's attorney, is going to issue, justifiably, by the way, deny the subpoenas based off presidential privilege.
Right.
Okay? These people are protected under executive privilege. They have always been protected under executive privilege by other presidents going back to whenever. These are cabinet-level people with the president. Mm-hmm. Their discussions, their talks, their whole being, or as they relate to the president, is confidential. It is not to be broken.
Right.
So here's what's going to happen. They're going to call him. Sekulow is going to proclaim executive privilege.
Yeah.
Then what's going to happen this time, the Democrats, unlike in the House, Schumer is going to say, okay, you've called executive privilege. We are going to take it to court this time. Now, when it goes to federal court, it will be ruled one way or the other at the lower federal court, which will thrust it into the appellate federal court one way or the other. Either it'll go against Trump and Sekulow will appeal it, or it'll go for Trump and the Democrats will appeal it. Mm-hmm. It'll go before the federal appellate court.
Right.
When it hits that court, Jason, you know what's going to happen.
What?
Right? You've seen it happen over and over and over.
What?
The Ninth Circuit judge, what's he going to do?
Probably go against Trump.
Go against Trump. It's already going to go against Trump. The minute it hits an appellate court, I assure you there is not an appellate court judge that is going to rule in any way in favor of President Trump.
Right.
They're not even going to rule fairly with President Trump. There's not a federal appellate judge that will do anything but adamantly rule to hurt the president. Now, when that happens, then of course that will force Sekulow and the president to then have to appeal that to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And we could hope that at the Supreme Court level, with the makeup of the court now, that President Trump would at least get a reasonably fair ruling. Sounds good, right, Jason? Sounds okay.
Everything sounds terrible to me, Larry. It sounds terrible.
Well, here's the problem with it.
Yeah.
The Democrats know that it'll go all through that process, but there's no way it will stop at the appellate court. Federal appellate court is as high as it will get prior to the 2020 election.
Why is that?
Just they time? Know that will not. I'm sorry?
Why is that? Just the time that's remaining?
The time required and the time remaining.
Right.
There will be no way to get a ruling from the Supreme Court.
So it leaves the president in limbo in November. He'll be in the election, unknown if he's going to be impeached or not, to discourage people from voting for a handicapped kind of a candidate.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it'll even be worse than that, Jason. The Democrats will proudly boast that he's already been ruled by the federal court to be obstructing justice by not letting his people testify when the courts have ruled that he's got to let them testify.
But it's dangerous to call that obstructing justice, Larry, because it's like, if you or I are ordered to appear in court, or witnesses are ordered to testify against us, as individual citizens, we don't have the ability to stop that. But certainly the person who holds the role of President of the United States is in a unique position, and protecting that position, not just for Donald Trump, but for future presidents, is incredibly important. Everything the Democrats are doing right now is weakening the office of the President of the United States, setting new precedents to make it easier to, undo an election, to penetrate, the attorney-client privilege of the president. You were talking about Mulvaney. They want to penetrate, no one's going to want to take a job for a president in the future, because everything that they're, immune from right now, or the decisions that they need to make that they require immunity in a way that regular people couldn't get, they won't be able to have.
That's right. They are also going to subpoena. There is a report in the New York Times apparently this weekend that supposedly, Jason, unveiled some important new news having to do with President Trump withholding the aid to the Ukraine. Now, I have not read that report. Were you able to find it?
Let's look for it right now. There's been a lot of mixed stuff about that. I see that CNBC, one day ago, behind the Ukraine freeze, 84 days of conflict and confusion from yesterday. So, again, this is just more social engineering and gaslighting from the New York Times, I'm sure. The inside story of President Trump's demand to halt military assistance to an ally shows the price he was willing to pay to carry out his agenda. This is so absurd, this premise that Donald Trump is doing this because he's afraid that he's going to lose to Joe Biden. There's like 16 people showing up to a Joe Biden rally, and he's insulting half of them. He's not a viable threat.
This would all be a joke. Except this election, this program, you and I, and my program daily, we're the only people talking about the truth of the uniqueness of the 2020 presidential election to any we've had, at least in the history of the nation since I can remember it.
Mm-hmm. And
that is the formula. As you know, normally, folks, presidential election is in a formula called 40-40-20. 40% like the president, 40% don't like the president, and there's 20% that are in the middle. They are referred to as undecided. They are sometimes referred to as swing votes. And who wins the election historically is determined by which camp gets the most of the undecided votes, right?
Yeah.
It's the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
This election falls under a heading I call 50-50. It's really not 50-50. It's more 48-48, 47-47, 48-48. But I just call it 50-50. With President Trump, there are very few people in this country that are not opinionated one way or the other. Vehemently opinionated one way or the other. They either love Trump or hate the very ground he walks on.
Yeah.
There's not much in that undecided category.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole election boils down, no joke, forget everything you've ever heard about elections, Jason, forget it. It boils down simply to this. Whichever side, Republican or Trump or the Democrats, it doesn't even matter which candidate gets to be the Democratic nomination for president. They don't even care. You'll notice there's no energy even worrying about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Which side gets their base to come out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Which side? And within each side, President Trump and the Democrats, you'll notice when I refer to base, I talk about the Democrat base, but when it comes to Trump, I refer to the Trump base.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has the base. The Republican Party doesn't really have it.
Right.
The Republican Party is basically Trump's base, whatever it is. And both parties have what's called a hard base and a soft base. The hard base are people that are going to vote. If there's an earthquake, they're going to go out and show up to vote. They're going to vote. You don't worry about them.
Right.
But the soft base is 40% of each side's base, approximately 40%. And if it's raining, they may not vote. If they think President Trump's got it won and he doesn't need their vote, they won't go out and vote. If they think President Trump's losing and they can't possibly pull it out, they won't go. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why people won't go vote. Now, if you don't believe me, folks, you should at least know the Democrats believe in this formula change. I can prove that to you. The Democrats, if you'll notice, believe in this new formula so much that they're going out and they're using sweeteners. Remember, Jason, we talked about those over the programs.
Reparations and everything.
Yes, to make sure their base comes out and votes. To get their vote out there, their base. They know it. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure that the Republicans and the Trump team are as convinced as the Democrats. But I'll even go further than that.
Okay.
You're going to notice this election, Jason, at the congressional and Senate race level, they're not being run like normal.
What do you mean?
They're not. Well, they're not candidates running for the Senate, candidates running for the, I'm talking about for the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. For the Democratic Party, they're not running their race like normal. They're not raising all bukus of money. They're not running aggressive campaigns for re-election. You're not seeing any of that, are you?
Well, why is that?
Because they know what I know. The likelihood of President Trump losing, people going in and specifically hating Trump so much that they vote him out. Those people are not very likely to go into the booth, vote out President Trump, and turn around and vote in a Republican back into the Senate or to the House.
Right. But Larry, the Democrats, it seems like this whole impeachment thing, people have been saying, oh, it's going to backfire. We're starting to see some signs of that. Tom Spann in the comments is reminding me that 2 weeks ago at a campaign event in Los Angeles in his own district, Adam Schiff was booed and heckled by a rowdy pro-Trump crowd saying liar, liar, and, impeachment manifesto rep Adam Schiff was booed in Los Angeles by anti-impeachment protesters as scuffles in the audience broke out. So that doesn't bode well that his own district, and Los Angeles is super anti-Trump in my experience, just speaking to friends who live there.
I'm not saying there's not a fatigue factor, but I will tell you this, when the fat lady sings, as we get closer to Election Day, you've got to remember the experience we all had when it came to Hillary, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people in this audience was not that sold on President Trump, not that even liked him, right?
Maybe some,
but there was no way you could bring yourself to vote for Hillary.
Right.
Remember that?
Yes, definitely that.
Well, that's going to happen to those people that were protesting. If they're true Democrats and they truly don't like Trump, unless they were really Trump people that showed up there just to make a scene.
Right.
There's no way they're going to go in when it's final said and done. They're not going to go in and vote for President Trump. They're not. They may get disgruntled with Schiff. Hell, anybody ought to be disgruntled with Schiff. Liberals should hate the ground Schiff walks on, Adam Schiff. because of what he's done to them, to the party.
Right.
He
Well,
has
and to the
dealt
presidency,
party a
he's just
very
abused it.
well, yes, and and if you're halfway far-sighted, you see that what he has done sets the standard now for future presidents,
Right.
even Democrat ones.
Very dangerous
Look
standard
at
that
the
he's set,
damage
Larry.
that's been. Yeah, look at the damage that's been done to our foreign relations. No foreign leader now can feel safe talking to President Trump about the most intimate of issues because it's going to pop up and be everywhere.
The New York Post is reporting just right now that Adam Schiff doesn't want anybody to speak to the whistleblower. And it says right here, his name is printed in the New York Post. I don't know, it seems like maybe YouTube still wants to kick you off for mentioning the guy's name. But it was discussed in the most recent testimony by, what's his name, Michael Horowitz, that although there is a provision for confidentiality in the whistleblower agreement, that's not the same as anonymity, and it certainly does not supersede President Trump or anyone's constitutional right to face their accusers. So Adam Schiff is very much playing a legal and political game. I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that he is a lawyer. He's got a JD degree from Harvard Law School. And I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you know much about this guy, Lawrence Tribe. Have you heard of him, Larry?
No.
Lawrence Tribe is a Harvard law professor. Yeah, he's a Harvard law professor, and he's the ideological father of lawfare. I was first told about the existence of Mr. Tribe by Dr. Corsi, who actually was at Harvard at the same time as Lawrence Tribe. This is a guy who basically, he's come up with this whole idea and these techniques. Holy crap, he was born in Shanghai, China. I mean, Dr. Corsi says he's a full-out communist. He's a professor at Harvard Law. Adam Schiff studied at Harvard Law. Lawrence Tribe has been tweeting about Adam Schiff, and this is definitely our first ever lawfare impeachment. Adam Schiff is just sort of, weaponizing the litigation against President Trump, and it's despicable.
And it's not about impeaching. It's about beating him in the election. And it's not about beating him by getting the middle people, the undecided, to hate him or to vote against him. All of this is being done, Jason, to fire up their base. It's to keep serving up hot stuff to their 40% soft base, to get them so mad at Trump, to make them believe Trump is such a traitor that they'll come out and vote no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the country, Larry, who don't have time to dig into the kind of details that you and I are covering on this show every Tuesday and the type of things that you're talking about on your own show every day. So they just sort of get influenced by the news, and that's basically all they know. I do want to add, Larry, people who are watching us right now on one of the Crowdsource the Truth channels, you can also watch a simulcast of Larry's broadcasts here by subscribing to his YouTube channel. It's totally free. It's the Larry Nichols official channel on YouTube. We've got over 150 people watching us right there. And we're going to try to help Larry monetize the channel. YouTube is being kind of difficult about that, but you know how they can be. For now, people can just watch there, and if they'd like to financially support Larry, they can still do that by going to nicholslive.com and clicking on the Donate tab. You can send money to Larry through PayPal using his PayPal address, nicholslive@aol.com, or you can put some money in an envelope and mail it to him. You can also contact Mary Ellen. Her phone number is displayed on screen right now. So what is going to happen, Larry? How is Mitch McConnell? What's he doing that's signaling what's going to happen next?
Well, he's signaling that he's going to okay these subpoenas for witnesses. because he knows, like you know, like I know, that Sekulow has no choice but to use executive privilege.
Just to
And by
make him look
using
bad.
executive privilege, it's going to throw it into that legal charade that's going to be just a marketing tool for the Democrats all the way up to election day. It's just a marketing plan. And McConnell should not allow that. He should not allow it.
Well, that's
There's
why
nothing in the articles of impeachment that define crimes worthy of a Senate trial, period. You know, when you start dealing in terms of high crimes and misdemeanors, right, you must understand a high crime. Number one, what do you got to have? Motive, opportunity, right?
Right.
You've also got to have damages. Well, where are the damages?
Well, you got to meet the elements of a crime. Nothing that they've done so far is even against, nothing that they've alleged is the law. So we've got these elements. I mean, you know, when Bill Clinton is accused of perjury, the idea is someone needs to prove that he's lied under oath. And once that's proven and presided over by a judge, it's done. He's accused and convicted of that crime. And as president, his punishment is impeachment. So there's no question. I mean, this is why I keep coming back to this motion to dismiss, because based on what you're telling us now, and I agree with what you're saying, McConnell can kind of, in terms of his public perception, he can skate by doing what you're saying, allowing them to call witnesses, because most people are going to see that as him trying to pursue the truth and trying to be fair. But what it's going to immediately do, as you said, Jay Sekulow will tell President Trump to invoke his executive privilege, and then they'll run around saying now he's obstructing justice because he's not allowing these guys to testify. However, again, obstructing justice, you know, if I call you up and say, hey, Larry, go over to my apartment and make a bunch of phone calls because I just killed somebody or something like that, and you assist me in covering up an investigation or whatever, you would be charged with obstructing justice. You're doing a crime. If somebody finds that, you're in trouble. But if you're the president and you have this executive privilege, Larry Nichols, Jason Goodman, we don't have executive privilege. If I was the president, or if Bill Clinton was the president and he asked you to do something illegal, he has the legal right to say, no, Larry's not going to testify because he's part of my whatever, and executive privilege, don't do it. So they're going to challenge executive privilege. They're trying to kneecap the presidency.
That's it. Now, to further prove that I'm telling y'all the truth about the uniqueness of this election, you need only to look at George Soros. George Soros, you will notice, Jason, is not putting his mass fortunes into play to get what? Senators elected that are Democrats to beat out Republican senators in this election. You'll notice he's not investing in that, is he?
I don't know.
We haven't heard of it, right?
Yeah, I haven't.
We haven't heard of it because he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he putting his money? He's putting his money down ballot into district attorneys and prosecutors and county sheriffs.
Right. You told us about that.
He is operating under the foregone conclusion that Trump's going to go. He's operating under the foregone conclusion that when Trump's gone, so too will the Senate be gone. So therefore you'll have the president, the Senate, the House. Then it's just going to be a matter of putting the country at the street level into submission, and you do that via prosecutors, district attorneys, and sheriffs.
Right. And you were the first person, Larry, to tell me about this incredibly ridiculous guy who's been elected to district attorney in San Francisco, Chesa Boudin, whose parents were guilty of murder, and he was raised by radicals. They're talking about the Weather Underground. This is so astounding. I mean, this is literally not too far away from like Charles Manson's kid becoming the district attorney. These guys were hanging out with Charles Manson, weren't they?
Yes. I mean, Jason, this is your nightmare movie of the takeover of America, the coup that killed America. This is it in real life. It's happening right in front of us, y'all. It's happening right in front of us. And I'm crying out, Jason, you're crying out, we're crying out. But think about this. If you're in that side that generally does not like Trump, you're watching MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, and CBS, and C-SPAN. You're getting the mainstream papers, and you're being fed a steady diet that these impeachment articles are real. But they're not.
Yeah.
But you don't know it. You're not an attorney. Looks real to you, right? These are impeachment articles. You're not a politician, folks, so sounds okay to you that Pelosi is withholding the articles until, she gets what she wants from the Senate.
Doesn't sound okay to
that's
me.
illegal as hell.
Yeah, it doesn't sound okay to me at all. I don't understand why. I did see a judge, Larry, I forget who it was, but some guest on Fox News who was the first person other than me to say what I've been saying, that this thing won't survive a motion to dismiss. Why are none of the lawyers in the Senate just saying motion to dismiss?
Well, if you'll recall, Lindsey Graham early on was boasting that's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
The minute it comes over, he said he was going to put a motion in to have it dismissed because of the inconsistencies in the way the House had conducted the impeachment inquiry. But you'll notice he's not doing that anymore.
Why is that?
Well, because he's in on with McConnell. They can't be trusted.
Yeah,
We've known you can't trust Graham.
I agree.
You can't trust him. So here we go into this new year facing this threat. So I would suggest to everyone listening to me, even though I know some of you say, well, I'm not in McConnell's state of Kentucky.
Right.
Well, he is representing the United States of America in his capacity as the majority leader of the Senate. So he represents us all right now in this capacity. It would not hurt to call him, call his office, and tell him, to dismiss this impeachment case on its face. Do not allow Pelosi and Schumer to impose their will on the President of the United States in this trial.
Or the Senate.
Good. I mean, in the Senate, yes.
Yeah.
See, because already they're saying Collins, well, guess what? We knew this was going to come. Collins is already saying, well, I've got no problem with them calling witnesses. Sure, she doesn't. Why would you not have a problem with them calling witnesses if you're a real senator that has any kind of intellect at all, and you know they're going to call people that are protected by executive privilege, and they're not coming. So if they're not going to come, they're not going to come, then why make the rules to where you're going to invite them when you know they're not going to come? It's just going to do what I told you.
Well, I think it's exactly what we were saying, Larry. It's just to give them the public appearance of being fair and trying to get to the bottom of it, when in fact, I don't know. I'm looking here at Wikipedia's posting for Doug Collins. I like Doug Collins. I think he's said a lot of things that
I'm
I
not
agree
talking about
with.
Collins. I'm talking about Susan Collins, the senator.
Oh, right. So she flipped, right?
Well, she's a Republican from Maryland or one of the northern liberal states. Susan Collins, wherever the hell she's from.
Maine. She's from Maine. She's a
Maine.
fixture in Maine, and she's the second Senate Republican to question the impartiality of this impeachment.
Then you've got, guess who, what was it that ran against Obama for president?
Mitt Romney?
Senator
Mitt
Romney.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to go along with call those witnesses. Sure, he would love to fry Trump. He'd love it.
Yeah.
And you got Mikowski in Alaska. Sure, she's going to be all for calling witness. She would love to see Trump go down in flames. You see, they must stop right now the use of the Senate trial to be made an advertising campaign tool for the race for president in 2020, because that's what it's going to be.
Absolutely. So let's just see what her education is here, Susan Collins. Boy, there's a lot of crap in Wikipedia about her. Environment, foreign policy. It's a lot of crap about her policy, but it's not telling us about her education, educational history. Oh, sorry, that's electoral history.
While you're looking that up, I've got to share a story that happened this weekend. Got to.
Yeah.
I was watching, for just a moment, Fox on some replay of some show, Tucker or Hannity or something. And here was the former head of the Border Patrol, whatever his name is. And it was showing him in a hearing in the House being questioned by that AOC person.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now, she was telling him that it is just wrong for, how dare him essentially to be separating these people from their children on the border.
Right.
Now, he pointed out to her, ma'am, if you were picked up, I don't know the case example he said, but I'll use one. He said, basically he was saying, if you were stopped with a DWI, you were drunk, and you're an American, white person, whatever, they're going to arrest you and they're going to temporarily take your children away from you. If the police are called to a home disturbance, they're going to come in, arrest you, and they're going to take your children from you. And she said, yes, but those are crimes. Now, this guy had a look on his face when she said that. And he did something I couldn't do. He cited the actual statute.
Nice.
You know, he said crossing the border illegally is a violation of such and such statute. And the reason I tell this story, Jason, is because when I saw that, I'm thinking, oh, dear God, people of this stupidity that didn't have enough sense to know, gee whiz, coming into this country illegally, guess what, is a crime?
Yeah.
It's a crime.
Yeah.
Jason, they're running our country, guys. Now, you might think, well, she's dumber than most. She's not necessarily that much dumber than a bunch of them.
Yeah.
She's not. But it's that kind of intellect, folks, that we have elected to make the laws in this nation. That's scary as hell.
It
That's
is.
scary as hell.
It is. Let me take you back for a minute to Senator Susan Collins, Larry. While we were talking there, I've discovered something rather upsetting about her educational life. It doesn't tell us too much here about what she studied, but she continued her education. Her college was at St. Lawrence University in Canton, and like her father, she was elected to the Phi Beta Kappa National Academic Honor Society. Now, I don't know if you know too much about Phi Beta Kappa. That's a topic that David Hawkins has touched on quite a bit. U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is a Phi Beta Kappa. He was actually the grand swipe of Phi Beta Kappa, which is a pretty weird fraternal order in my estimation that has some strange rituals. Bill Clinton was a member, George H.W. Bush was a member. Stopped there. So she's part of this fraternity that she is potentially more loyal to than even the U.S. Senate. What do you think about that?
I don't doubt it a bit. I'm telling you, when I hear Harvard, when I hear Goldman Sachs,
Yeah.
I start thinking, you know what, there is some evil secret society out there that has incredible influence and impact in our government. When you start looking at people in our government, just hold on. You're going to see Harvard or Goldman Sachs or Yale. You're going to see those three.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary. It's scary. There's something about those organizations, something about them.
Right.
I mean, why is it that those colleges carry, 80-90% of the people, both the, professional government bureaucrats to the elected ones?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't know. It's
I
a
don't
good
either.
point. Yeah. I mean, it's a club, Larry, and you and me are not in it.
No. No. And it's like a gateway club. You go there, if you can get in, and you'll notice that it's connected to family. I mean,
Yeah. Well, they made a point
buddy,
of saying that her father was in it, right?
right, yes. I mean, the family lines that go, the grandfather was Harvard, then the father was Harvard, now the child is Harvard, and they all ended up running various levels of government in the United States. I mean, think about it.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's a serious thing. Larry, we've got with us someone going by Hillary in the comments saying that it's Masonic. I don't know what we know about that, but I've got the Wikipedia page here now for Phi Beta Kappa. I remember there was a big expose of it in the New Yorker magazine, and they spoke about Wilbur Ross showing up in some weird red slippers or dressing up as a woman or something like that. Wikipedia says the Phi Beta Kappa Society is the oldest academic honor society in the United States and is often described as the most prestigious honor society due to its long history and academic selectivity. Phi Beta Kappa aims to promote and advocate excellence in the liberal arts and sciences and to induct the most outstanding students of arts and sciences at American colleges and universities.
Explain to me how George Bush got in it.
Right. It was founded at the College of William and Mary on December 5th, 1776, as the first collegiate Greek letter fraternity and was among the earliest collegiate fraternal societies.
Yes, see, I would be more afraid of that group than I would be afraid of the Masons, to be honest. I would be more afraid of that group. I really would. And I don't know anything about them. I mean, you're telling me more than I've ever known about them. But their claim of academic excellence, and yet Bill Clinton and George Bush are part, alumni of it, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Did
Bill Clinton ever speak to you about that, Phi Beta Kappa? He was in it.
No, never did.
Interesting.
But Bill Clinton, carried the banner of Rhodes Scholar, right? Yeah. He got that because of his father, Fulbright. I mean, he got his Fulbright. He didn't even go to the Rhodes Scholarship School.
Wasn't it Oxford?
He went.
That it?
Yeah, he went to Oxford, but he was there for like 6 weeks, and then he spent the rest of the time floating around Europe, going to Russia. He spent more time in Russia than he did Oxford. He didn't graduate. He did not graduate a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford. He did not.
Well, I think that whole Rhodes,
when he was president.
The whole Rhodes Scholarship program, I think, is basically a secret society as well. So you've told us in the past that Bill Clinton himself told you that William Fulbright is his father?
Yes. Yes.
And his mother was a prostitute, wasn't she?
Well, she part-time.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Virginia, bless her heart, she was wild and woolly. loved her to death, but she was wild and woman. She was a tiger when she was young, buddy. A tiger.
Someone's saying to me, what about Murkowski? Stefan on Periscope says, what about Murkowski? Who's Murkowski? I don't know who that is.
She's Alaska. Republican senator in Alaska. She hates Trump with a passion, and she's another Republican in name only.
Right.
Now, I am shocked that Alaska would elect such a liberal, queen liberal, but, you know, maybe Alaska's more liberal than I thought it would be. I don't know.
Well, let's see what her Wikipedia page says. She's, where's her education?
She cannot be Sada Bay County. She can't be one of those. I swear she cannot.
Well, she did go to Georgetown University, so that's interesting.
Okay.
So she's also a lawyer. She received a Juris Doctorate from Willamette University. She's part of Phi Beta Phi sorority. I was never part of any fraternity. I'm not too fond of these things that try to tell you what to do and how to think and make you do weird stuff, drink booze, do, you know, gay stuff or raping people or whatever the hell they have going on over there. I'm not into these fraternities, Larry.
Well, I was too dumb for college anyway.
I don't think that's correct. But we're getting pretty close to the end of the show here, Larry. It's been really an exciting 2019. You and I have done a lot of great programs. We've been getting to know each other better. This impeachment is definitely troubling. I feel very strongly that Jay Sekulow or somebody in Donald Trump's camp, until I hear a legal reason why a motion to dismiss can't challenge this thing, it seems the most expeditious and least damaging legal strategy to an end. You know, as you said, if they try to...
Listen, that Sekulow and them, they promoted the idea, that, to my knowledge, up until a few days ago, that was the plan, if you'll recall, at the time when you heard Mitch McConnell saying he was totally cooperating with the White House, right. In this impeachment thing.
Yep.
That's what he was talking about. They were fully pledging to, you know, follow the counsel of Sekulow and them, and that was the plan. That's why it's such a shocker to hear today that he's agreeing to these meetings with Schumer and that he's open now to these testimonies.
Yeah. I don't know why that would have happened. I don't see what the benefit for the president is.
You know, Jason, we're running out of time. It's New Year's Eve.
Yep.
This is, folks, 2020, the year that's fixing to come starting tomorrow, is going to be the most important year for the history of this nation, in our history. Second only probably to the Revolution. More dangerous to the integrity of keeping the country a country than even the Civil War was. We, in 2020, are going to see, Jason, whether this nation succumbs to a full coup and our form of government is transformed, now and forever.
Yeah.
Or at least the foreseeable future. It is. So this is going to be the year of years, buddy. The year of years. I look forward to sharing it with you and this audience. I truly, truly do. It's I appreciate you allowing me, I hope, to be with you this year because
absolutely, Larry.
It's going to be important.
It is. And Larry, I appreciate you joining me and creating this show with me. I think it's a wonderful way for you to have a forum to really, you know, we dig in these deep dives and you got a lot of time to speak and really kind of air out the ideas. And even what we were just doing right now, you know, talking about maybe some aspect of it that you hadn't thought of. I always enjoy that. And we kind of like find these things along the way. I didn't know about that Weather Underground District Attorney in San Francisco. So I hope together we can continue to share these ideas with people, because what it always does, Larry, is it gets people who are viewing to find new information, and then they share it with me and I can bring it back to you and the other guests. And that's really the whole point of Crowdsource the Truth, is that thousands of people see these videos each week, and each of them have their own experiences, their own insights, their own recollections. There are even going to be people who know some of these people from the past who can bring information forward to us in a way that we would never get it otherwise. So it is really important for people who are watching each week. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy hearing what Larry has to say, please visit nicholslive.com and use PayPal and Larry's PayPal address, nicholslive@aol.com, to send Larry just a year-end thank you, a small amount of money. We're not asking anybody to put themselves out financially, but you know, Larry, we've got about 500 people watching us right now, and if even only 10% of them sent you a few bucks each, it would help you close out the year in a positive kind of a way. And it's the only way that we can really support this type of reporting, because, you know, if we were looking for some kind of national sponsor, they would want to tell us what we can talk about. So this kind of individual micro sponsorship from the viewers is a new way to do it. I don't pay people to come on the show. They don't pay me to be on the show. It's up to you, the audience, to be the sponsors. And if you want to see us continue in 2020, please visit nicholslive.com, sponsor Larry. Please visit subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth to sponsor this channel. And Larry, I'll see you next week. I hope you have a great New Year's Eve and a wonderful 2020. Thanks for everything that you've shared with us in 2019. And thanks so much for everybody who's been watching.
Yes, and let me say to everybody, invite others to come this year to this program. More people need to hear the word.
Absolutely. All right, Larry, with that, have a great 2020. I'll see you next week.
Sounds great.
And thanks, everybody. Don't miss tonight a special episode of More Pain with Mike Moore from True Pundit. We'll see everybody tonight at 8 o'clock. Have a great evening.